Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 506. I am your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for joining me. It is presently 10:20 at a very late start in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It is the 2nd of July, 7th month of the year, in the year of our Lord 2025. There is no war in Basingsi. Somebody's been... Is that a book? Somebody's been doing their reading, their light reading. All right. Let's see if we could jump into some news, some of these stories that I've been looking at here. Fraud committed on people of TNT. Trade Minister Petrochin made $2 billion before it was shut down. A fraud was committed on the people of Trinidad and Tobago regarding Petrochin. Trade Minister Satyakama Maharaj said yesterday. Speaking in the debate, he said he reviewed the 2018 accounts, which showed that in 2017, Petrochin generated $2.5 billion in net cash from operating activities, of which $500 million was used for investment and $1.8 billion for financing, leaving a cash surplus. In 2018, the year the decision was made to shut it down, Petrochin was still generating $2 billion in positive cash flows. He said approximately $600 million was reinvested and $1.7 billion was used to meet financial obligations. There was no imminent solvency. The company was still generating foreign exchange and meeting its debts. Despite this, a decision was made against the advice of consultants and without any restructuring plan to shut down a critical national enterprise. Thank you, Shane Ford. The result is staggering economic blow and the destruction of one of our most strategic national assets. Let me be clear. The story that was told to the population was not one of financial necessity. It was one of political expediency. A fraud in the purest economic sense was committed on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and we are still paying the price today, Maharaj said. And maybe that's true, but what I'd like a further explanation of is what was the political expediency for the PNM in closing down Petrochin? Like, what were the political points that they were trying to gain in doing such a thing? I am not sure because I can't really see it. Maharaj said he was concerned about the fragmentation of the private sector, siloed, splintered, and lacking unified representation. Their collective potential has been diminished, and neither the previous administration nor parts of the private sector, it seems, have recognized the economic cost of this division. In many cases, businesses and investors are not seen as partners in nation building, but are treated as burdens or worse, as barriers. This is not just inefficient, it is unacceptable, and it's precisely what this administration intends to change. He said Lever Brothers, a long-standing foreign direct investor and manufacturer, was neglected for years. Nobody worked with them. Rather than being supported and engaged, they were ignored to the point that they shut down their manufacturing operations entirely, and they are not alone. The previous administration outright refused to meet them to address their concerns. As a result, we lost hundreds of jobs. He's speaking of ArcelorMittal there. Mr. President, coming from the private sector, and I have been in business for about 4 decades, I was shocked to see the lethargy. In tourism, for instance, we were told that pre-COVID we had 2,000 yachts visiting our shores. Today we have 300, and then we asked why. I get a shoulder shrug, and we get no answer. That is what we inherited. We have met with one potential investor who could make a giant step towards diversifying the economy, who reported to us that for 3 years no one would meet with them. We actually have one of our local companies so frustrated that they have opened 2 plants in another country that welcomed them with open arms. Maharaj said he was spearheading a strategy to bring all the private sector organizations in a unified way so that they can approach the ministry with one voice. That is going to be the most transformational development in the history of business in Trinidad, he said. Maharaj said after oil and gas, the next biggest thing in this country was Carnival. I cannot reveal it as yet. It's still in the formative stages. But we have a project that is going to be as transformational as the development of the Point Lisas Industrial Estate. When I introduce that, we would have transformed this economy beyond oil and gas, tourism, investment, and trade. He itemized in this that he's looking like that in the next 3 years, 4 years, people should need a visa to come here. Au Trini en passant. Internationally owned, Abdul. But I agree that Trinidad does not have a very business-friendly climate, by and large. And I could be in agreement that the PNM as an entity may be less business-friendly than the UNC. I can believe that. That's a believable thing. And if it is that the UNC is planning measures to make doing business a lot easier in this country, I welcome it. I welcome it. Zakur claims Vimcut ex-chairman used state resources to sell pies for sister. Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Eli Zakur has raised alarm after allegations of gross mismanagement, corruption, and improper procurement at the Vehicle Management Corporation, Vimcut, even accusing a former chairman of using state resources to sell pies for his sister's business. Zaku cited a letter dated April 10, 2023, addressed to former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and copied to several senior officials, including former Transport Minister Ron Sinanan, Permanent Secretary, former Police Commissioner, and DPP. The letter called for urgent intervention and an independent audit into Vimcut. Zaku said the report outlined corruption, nepotism, misappropriation of state funds, and multiple procurement breaches. It is alleged that the Vimcut CEO and chairman spent thousands at Price Mart on alcohol, while the chairman's sister became the sole supplier of food for all company events without a 3-code system in place. The chairman has been peddling pies and lunches for his sister's business. Oh yes. So he's delivering pies and lunches with a state-owned vehicle, PCU3, using it as a courier service. This letter, let me remind you, was sent to the Prime Minister at the time of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The letter also claims that the CEO paid $20,000 to the TTPS to cover child maintenance for a friend, and that during the COVID-19 lockdown, she was to the party to celebrate the awarding of contracts to associates. Yeah. Vimcut allegedly spent thousands on monthly catering, which was delivered to and removed from the compound. In another case, the TTPS allegedly overpaid Vimcut by $17 million, which the company could not account for. Zakur said $4 million worth of unused parts were never liquidated. Here's this. They have $4 million in parts that were never liquidated. They never sold it. Instead, $50,000 was spent on storage containers to house them. We see it over here. Sweet TNT. So you don't sell off the parts that would lose value as you keep it. We spend more money to keep storing the parts. And I suppose as the containers are filled up, we'll spend more money and get another container. Why not? Zakir added that Vimcut is responsible for certifying private garages used by the TTPS. Yet 18 garages approved in 2022 were never formally certified. Still, police vehicles were sent to these garages without proper oversight. I'll give you an example. One particular garage charged $20,000 for your service, which would have only cost $7,000 at Vimcut. In the last decade, $368 million was spent maintaining police vehicles. I am sure, based on what I have in front of me, tens of millions of dollars have been wasted in the last decade. Until they standardize police vehicles, millions will be continued to be wasted. All right. Court rules Trinidad a terrorist entity in T&T. The High Court of Trinidad and Tobago has officially designated the Venezuelan criminal group Trinidad as a terrorist entity. This decision follows an application filed by the Attorney General and is grounded in Section 22B of the Anti-Terrorism Act, as well as the United Nations Security Council resolution. So we are joining the United States in labeling Trinidad as a terrorist organization. Now, the thing is, really and truly, the terrorist organization business was already in train under the last government. Under the last government, they were going to agree with that whole thing and call them terrorists also. So this isn't anything strange. It's moving along with what the last government was aiming at doing. But added on to that, government looking at declaring local gangs as terrorist entities. The government is exploring declaring some local gangs as terrorist entities in its fight against crime. This was confirmed by Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander speaking with the Express Wednesday. Now, Semantics Jake says, but I wonder, here's something I wonder about with this. Here's something I wonder about legitimately with this. If we label these organizations as terrorist organizations, what happens to members of these organizations, alleged members of these organizations, that are in foreign countries? Well, I mean, it's not like we were doing any drone strikes anyways, so I don't know about that. But I guess we can now allow more transnational help with them, if you get my drift. Also, as I'm saying, if we're doing that with local gangs, remember there are allegations that there are local gang members. Good night, Karim Del Pesh over on YouTube. The allegations that there are local gang members hiding out in some people's countries. And if these gang members are no longer just gang members, but they are seen as terrorists, then what? Then what? So are we going to, if they are seen as terrorists, what happens then? I'm all for the fight against crime, but this looked like a pretext to lose sovereignty. How does that help with crime fighting? I suppose it allows us to do more. If I were to make a guess, I would say it allows us to do more. Now, as I said, I don't know how much more this will allow us to do. I am not certain. But what I do know is I prefer this than the previous administration's attempt, where their aim was to treat it as a national health emergency. The national health emergency part, I don't think that makes sense. Now, saying that these men are terrorists, I could say that makes sense. I could say that makes sense. Why? Because technically some of the activities they do may be able to be classified as terrorism. Yes, I remember they did say that too. I remember they spoke about terrorism, but they said it, but I don't think they actually put it in place. And truth be told is, I don't know if this group is going to fully put anything in place to undo the terrorism that they allege also. I don't know that either. But we will see. All this to lead up to is a US military base that's the bigger picture of Venezuela. And he was like, what's up? Yes. I remember that. I didn't forget it. I'm saying I prefer that than the health side. So I hope that if they're calling them terrorists, they are doing terrorist stuff. What I am curious to know though, the part about our locals being called terrorists that I'm curious about, because I don't know what additional that's going to do on the local crime fighting side. The one I have is on the international side of it. Does this aid in us fighting crime internationally? Does this aid now in us reaching out to some of these members that may not be here locally? I don't know. It should. Because I'd suppose if you were to make a call out to England and say, well, we have someone who may be a suspected gang member, that's one thing. But if you make a call out and say this person is a member of a known terrorist organization, I suppose that may kick their whatever they're claiming in England right out. I don't know. It's a curious technique, and we will see if it works. So will the drug lords also be terrorists? I suppose not. Because unless you can prove the drug lords are in a gang, there's no terrorist organization to hold them to. Let's look at an interesting story. So the money is understood. Well, of course. That's for the riffraff to get picked up. Let's look at a very interesting. You all know I like some interesting stories every now and again. Man loses car, phone, and faith in late lime with woman. Do we really want US base on the ground with Trump as president? Would we want it with any other person as president? Like, what difference does it make with Trump being president wanting the US base on the ground? A Shoguana's man who went to the beach with a woman whom he knew only by her first name was robbed of his cash, cell phone, and car. Brothers, we have to do better than we have to do better than that. We have to do better than that. You only know by the first name, and you out in the beach. The 38-year-old man, and this is a big old man, innit? It's not like it's a 18-year-old, 38, bro. Bro, you done seen the world turn, brother. You've been around, you saw the world turning, brother. The 38-year-old man reported to the police that in the early hours of Wednesday, he was liming with a female companion whom he knew only as Zion on the shore of Flower Pot Beach in Pointe-à-Pierre. He reported that around 1 a.m., he and Zion were accosted by 3 men, one of whom was armed with a firearm. The victim said he was beaten and his hands and feet were bound. Police said there was no further information about the female companion. The criminals demanded money and took $200 and his Samsung cell phone valued at $1,000. They fled in his silver Nissan Tiida along the southern main road. 1 a.m. You on Flower Pot Beach at 1 a.m. with a woman you only know by her first name, and her first name is Zion. So there's a 99.99 chance that that first name is made up. Good night, Paul Duncan. I find it suspect that he only had $200 though. So brother man went down to the beach, jumped in his car, and all he had was $200 in his pocket. Listen, I haven't been out of the dating market for that long. I feel like if you're going out with a woman, $200 is cutting it very sharp. He was using card. Somehow I feel the kind of men who go down Flower Pot at 1 a.m. aren't the kind of men who really swiping cards that much. I know it's a stereotypical judgment I'm making, but I just feel at 1 it have nothing much to do. Running, what are you talking about? It have many things to do at 1 o'clock. Well, you see, Ronnie, apparently 200 wasn't enough because they took the 200, his phone, and his car. If the 200 was enough, Zion would have taken the $200 and gone. He already gave her before the fact. So really and truly, this is the wind down of the night. He done gone out there, probably leave home at $1,200. He done clear away $1,000, and this is his last $200 in his pocket, and they come and scrape it up when the night closing off. Just when he think, because Abdul, I don't think he is looking to pay for the 2 Coconut Hotel. Because if he is down at Flower Pot Beach at 1 a.m., I kind of get the feeling like he doesn't mind outdoors. So brothers, I don't even know where that beach is. That beach is a hole. That is a hole in Claxton Bay. That's what Flower Pot is. It is a hole in Claxton Bay. It is not our most premium of beaches. Let's put it that way. It is not our most premium of beaches. It is shady. Listen, Flower Pot is shady 12 o'clock in the day basically. So 1 in the morning, Like, I don't want to be a victim blamer. I wish, sir, you didn't get yourself robbed. But at the end of the day, you did get yourself robbed. A lot of gardening at flower pot. Correct. Correct. People garden at flower pot. Ronnie, what you talking about? Abdul, I feel so too. I feel so too. It's a pickup. A pickup at the bar. A pickup you should have put down. Watch this interesting comparison. Barry slams Wassa boss for overseeing PNM plan to cut jobs. This is from just 2 weeks ago. Barely 2 weeks ago. Public Utilities Minister has slammed the PNM administration handling of Wassa, calling out the transformation plan and appointment of Keith Roy Halliday. He defended the government's decision to scrap the transformation plan, saying it cost the taxpayer 13.4 million and would have sent home 2,500 workers. Barry was very upset that the PNM had plans to send home 2,500 workers from Wassa. Okay, Ronnie. Okay. You do you. But yes, he was very upset at the idea, even the inkling that the PNM may have been thinking about getting rid of 2,500 workers. Yes, Abdul. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then, on a moment's notice, 10,000 CPEP workers gone. Elder CPEP terminations necessary due to corruption. Former trade unionist and current minister in the Ministry of Public Utilities, Clyde Elder, said the government's move to terminate all CPEP contracts was necessary due to corruption. Isn't that the same allegation of why they were getting rid of those extra Wassa workers? You cannot send home Wassa workers and South have no water. Something makes you believe, Sparky, that Wassa workers equal better water supply. That's like me saying now, you can't send home CPEP workers because I have tall bush at the side of the grass by me. What that have to do with anything? That's not the reason you keep workers like that. If the company is being run inefficiently with too many managers, you send them home. And it's amazing how heartbreaking the thought of sending 2,500 workers home was. And then how flippantly the switch could be flipped on 10,000 workers. And allegedly 4,000 more from forestry. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here and pretending like I don't understand how political jobs go. I understand how political jobs go, and they have always been how they have always been. I understand that. But it's the hypocrisy and double speak about it, where you come up and pretend like you care about people's jobs that much. Like what you're doing is all about saving jobs. The reason you reversed that plan in Wassa is because of the jobs. But jobs aren't that high in your consideration, really and truly. You could throw 10,000 people out of a job quickly. Do you think TNTech is next? Not really. Not really. Wait, are there any rivers in South? Come to think of it, yes, there are rivers in South. I find that passing strange, as they say. Passing strange. Anyway, I yawning plenty. I didn't get my coffee. So, I've got to go. TNTech seems to be one of the companies that never get hit in it. Well, TNTech seems like they run a bit better. They run out a lot more efficiently, it seems. It seems. I don't think TNTech... because by and large, our electricity supply isn't bad. We don't have a terrible electricity supply in Trinidad and Tobago. So the complaints aren't really that high regarding TNTech. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not 100% certain why TNTech runs so much better than the others, but they apparently do. Yeah, a street light blows, you call them, and in short time they're there. A transformer goes down, in short time they're there. Somebody big truck pass and pull down a line and cut off a whole 5 streets, you call them and they're there. They're quick. So I'm not displeased with TNTech. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull the curtains back and you hear that the money is running like water inside of there too. That just as the Vimcut chairman allegedly was sourcing the food from one caterer, I wouldn't doubt some of those things happen inside TNTech too. But like the thing with me for government, that a lot of politicians and government workers, I don't know, they seem not to get this. I think people have a lot of room. They have a lot of room to take licks, to give latitude if things work. If TNTech works, people have a lot more room to take whatever TNTech is doing. If WASA works, people have a lot of room to take whatever WASA is doing. It's kind of about how good it works, really and truly. That's true, Tristan. That's true. All right, people. My eyes falling on me. And before I knock out right here again, let's dive out. So is what are people playing with? Well, the thing is, the way how the system is already set up, nearly anybody who doesn't have water already has access to water. So it's not as critical a thing. But now everyone who already has electricity, they wouldn't like to lose access to that electricity. That's not going to go along well. Like, I can afford for water to go. Water could go by me for a while. I've got my tank and all of that. Well, tanks. In Trinidad, you need tanks, really and truly. Not tank, you need tanks. But in the system that many people have in Trinidad with your tank and your pump setup, you could afford for water to go. Sometimes, according to how many tanks you have in your little tank farm setup, you could afford for water to go for a week, for 2 weeks and all. And you didn't even notice. But you know, if electricity goes, your pump stops working. And many households, that's how they get the water. I can't afford for water to go by me. Bro, I can't live that life. I can't afford to live the life where I can't afford for water to go, because water goes too regular. Water goes too regularly for me to depend on WASA. Every time I open this pipe, WASA should have stuff flowing. Nah, water goes too regularly for that. I need a system. I no, not all that hard licks, man. Not all that hard licks. Nah. I need that system to function properly. And when you're functioning, if you're functioning with a shower head water heater or external water heaters, you need the water to run through the system to get heat. Beside that, we have to boil the water. Nah, the heat. Life get a little sweet. I like hot water too, man. If electricity goes in PT Valley, water goes same time. I guess it's pumps all the way up. But water never gone since I living where I living here. Like a government minister living up there too. 2 days in, 5 days out. I've heard that. I've heard the water schedules in some places. Apparently, Trini and living in a gated community with some ministers. and water never goes. I don't know many places where they get constant water like that. Lucky you. Lucky you. Water every day here. Water every day by both of you all. You're sure both of you all in the same place? Anyway, let's look to dive out. That's all I have for now, people. I have to go take a rest. I gotta go take a rest. Looking to dive out. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live Show. I'll see you guys again for the next one. You wish. All right. Ronnie the boy wish. Make a boy wish come true. All right, people. That's all I have for now. Hold it down. Stay good. I'm out.